Hello and welcome to tonight's Tuesday night live painting demo. Sorry for the late start here. Had some problems with my panel. The primer that I put on it wasn't completely dry, and that would have been a real mess if I started putting oil paints on top of water-based primer. And it would have been an interesting experiment to watch, but I didn't really want to have all that happen while I was live. So hopefully everything goes well tonight. I had some technical difficulties with the stream the last couple of weeks. Maybe tonight will go better. Tonight I'm doing a painting of George Homogisebe. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce his name, but that might be close enough. And I am just going to get right into it. Put it down something close to what I think is the measurement. I can go back and measure, but I'm just last week I very carefully put in my some guidelines just to get a sense of where everything was. Tonight I'm not sure I really have the patience for that, and it may take a little bit longer to get the painting done because I'm not carefully measuring everything at first, which means I have to go back and adjust some things. I'm just sort of taking a while, guess where things might be. So I'm hearing the sound is very low. Try this again. The sometimes the microphone isn't plugged in all the way. Can you hear me now? Actually, I can test my own sound myself, right? Yeah, I guess it's coming out. I'm speaking kind of low too, which probably isn't helping. Um, let's see. So just let's start to get some measurements in here. Top of the eye. Something around there. Which means I have this eyebrows a little bit lower. What I was starting to say, you may not have heard me, but I had some problems. I had primed the panel maybe an hour before this, and usually it sets up pretty well. It's a water-based gesso that I use, and it hadn't completely dried, so I had to like rub out the wet spots, put a little bit more on, then stick it in the oven for about 5 minutes at 300 degrees, and hopefully that was to get it to dry, and I think that may have done the trick. Okay, great. Audio is good. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not sure what's wrong with the volume here. I thought I had the mic plugged in all the way, but um, it's better. But my volume is all the way to the top. Okay, I um, just need to talk a little bit louder. I guess is the problem. I'm just gonna start redrawing. Have his cheek, his chin here. Let's get a measurement down here. That's the right place. A little more for the hair. Feel free to ask me questions as I paint. I'm more than happy to answer anything. There's a little bit of lag in the video. I just refreshed the page. Now it's coming through. So if you have any problems where initially the video doesn't look like it's, if you're just getting that spinning loader, try refreshing your page at first. But sometimes the service goes out on my end, and so
that doesn't always do the trick. If I lost service, then I have to restart my Wi-Fi connection. Okay, tip of the nose, right about there, base of the nose. That's not too far off. Okay, kind of got a sense of where things are, although the eyes seem very low. That is in the right place, so at least I know that one eyebrow is too high. So something like that. See, top of the ear. It's right around there. So what I was saying, I didn't know if you had heard me before, but I had problems getting the gesso to dry in my panel, and so I ended up sticking it in the oven. It's still kind of on the warm side, so it's kind of a little experiment here. How is it to paint on a freshly baked panel? Okay, let's get some paint going here. So I'm going to mix up what's called a half tone. That would be the average color of the light side of the face, where there's no highlights or shadow. So I'm just going kind of a light pink color, just to get me a good start. Just kind of put everything down. Maybe a little bit more red around the tip of the nose. And I know I want that far cheek to be a little bit darker. The lower part of the nose. And then I have the shadow area of the eyes. So I'm kind of thinking a little more structurally tonight. Got the shadow of the chin. And then his neck is going to be darker and greener. That's a little too purple, but that's okay. And I want to mix up some background color. A lot of phthalo blue and white. And I want to mix up a lot of that so that I have something to work with. Just made that a little bit too thin, but that's okay. I want to go even darker and brighter. I don't have all night, so I need to make it pretty wet so I can get good coverage. Okay, and let's just put in a little bit of, and sorry, I lost my connection there. Let me, so it's going to be one of those nights, apparently, where nothing goes quite the way I want, but um, if you bear with me, hopefully some of you will, then hopefully you'll get something out of this, but um, just in the kind of the mood to paint just to paint tonight, so if the video works or doesn't work, it's okay. Let's just get an indication of where this eye is going. A little bit of greenish color, greenish blue. And measure, measure, measure. And I can refine this edge where side of the face is. Give him that sharp cheekbone that's there. And then the dark edge along that cheek. Let's start to get some of these shapes in the cheek. Got a little bit of purple on the underside of the nose. And then I have greens around the muzzle of his mouth. That's partially from having facial hair that's shaved. I really want that nice pink that's there in that part of the face. It's a real pretty color there. Yeah, that's a little bit better. What color am I going to paint his shirt is a good question. Wanted to have kind of a neutral appearance. It has a little bit of blue and all with all the stripes and everything. Maybe go a little bit purple. Okay, well that's a good start of a color. And then kind of a bluish shadow. We got a little bit of shadow coming into that shirt. So even though I'm painting somewhat thin detail lines, I'm still using my bigger brush. I'm just using the edge of it. I get a fair amount of paint on it, and if I hold it just right, then I can get a fair amount of control. I don't have to use a tiny little brush to do this work. And it doesn't have to be so exact here in the beginning. I just can refine it later, but if I happen to get it right, then I can just leave it the way it is. Let's clean that up a little bit. So I need kind of a pretty strong orange-red color. Running out of red on my palette, so I'm going to have to And I'm running out of white. Okay, something like that. I can go in and enhance that later. I want my was it alizarin permanent for the divider in the mouth. Almost black in the shadow here. Do have to give him another eye, I think. Be kind of mean just to leave him with one eye. That just looks too high, and I didn't really give him an upper eyelid. But I'm out of color here on my palette, so I'm going to put down some radiant white because that'll give me the cooler whites that I'm looking for. And I need naphthol red, which I'm out of. And I'm pretty low on the quinacridone red too. So the quinacridone red is my cool red, and my naphthol red is my warm red. Warmer just meaning closer to orange. And a cooler red is something that has a little more violet or blue in it. Here's my quinacridone red. I'm near the end of it too, but let's see if I can get a little more out here. Come on, sit down. There we go. Okay. Refresh the palette. I didn't put really a whole lot of white down, but I'll put some down in a few minutes because I know I'm going to go through that white pretty quickly. Excuse me. So I made his eye too high, so let's make it a little lower. Let's get the right color mixed first. Okay, that's probably a little bit better. So that's the upper eyelid. Let's get that again. Okay. Let's just measure, see where I am. That's good. That's right on. Okay. So I know where it needs to be. So let's just get it in there. Throw in a black spot where the pupil is. And I'm going to get that little highlight there. It's a little bit too big, but carve that a little. Okay, and I need that light blue on the edge of his eye. The edge of his iris, rather. And then another white right there. Okay. And give him a more accurate shape to his eyelid. And the eyelashes come out right here. So let's clean up those that other bit of eyelash there. So now I have a few landmarks in. I can start to adjust a few things. His nose I needed to make a little bit straighter here, or more vertical, I should say. Let's make it more vertical. Give it a little bit of a shadow that's right along the bump of the nose. And then I got a pretty strong shadow on the underside. Let's redraw that nostril, the other nostril. A little bit of purple underneath again. And some of that reddish purple comes in right there, which is a little bit of dioxazine purple, a little bit of the alizarin permanent. And then some really nice pink here. See if I can get that color. Too light, too dark probably. That's not too bad. And then I need the warmer red on the tip of his nose. And then I have that spot of highlight. It's a little bit too early to put this in, but I just want to see it. Yep. That looks about right. And I'm just going to copy that shape that I see, the form shadow of his nose, and then the cast shadow that's coming out on the cheek and upper lip. And just going to carve a little bit the nostril so it's pointed in the right direction. Give it a little bit of black in there. I'm going to carve that again until it looks the way I want. Okay, and we want light warm red along here. Get a little more color in it. Okay, starting to see some of these shapes now. Gotta give him a little more chin. Okay, and I'm seeing some green tones and yellow tones in the flesh in a few places, and I want to get those in because that gives the face a little more life. If it's just all variations of reds and pinks, the face does just won't look right. See if I can get that color on the lower eyelid there to read correctly. If I get that shape right, then you'll see the form curving around in space. If I don't get it right, then the eye will look terribly wrong. Um, Hi, Jennifer. Watching from Ontario, Canada, I see. How was your week? Did you paint every night? I did. Um, I think I took one night off, but I have a commission that I'm working on. The client didn't want to um, have any of the images from that commission shown, so it's a surprise for her boyfriend. So I'm not posting any of that work. But other than that, the last painting I did was my Tuesday night demo last week. So, um, so I probably painted three out of, let me see, out of the last 7 days, I probably painted 4 or 5 nights. Just, I'd like to step it up a little bit from what I have been doing, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good to pace yourself. Okay, let's see. Now I can start to see where my drawing differs from the photograph and then start to make some adjustments. Let's get the eyes working though. That's sort of the area where I really like it to shine. When you feel like the eyes are really looking at you, then that makes the painting a lot more interesting. And then Fatima writes, "Hi, I'm Fatima from Saudi Arabia. I like your paintings. Thank you. It's helpful to me." Well, that's why I do it. You know, I stream so that everyone can see at least one way of doing it. There's more ways of painting probably than there are artists. I just do it the way that I've learned to develop the method that works for the way I like to paint. So I'm just looking for the abstract shapes and where I see them in the photo and tried to mimic those um, as quickly and accurately as I can. As you notice, I move pretty quickly. At some point, you do have to slow down a little bit to get a little more accuracy, but at this stage of the painting, it doesn't feel like it's as important. Okay, I want to get that crease in the eyelid here. And redraw that shape a little. That's a little bit better. And then I can adjust the eyelashes here. Shadow of the nose, I'm going to hit that again. I'm going to probably paint that a bunch of times until it feels right. It's just a real subtle kind of thing. Even the highlight on the nose has to move over a little bit. That was a little strong, but it's not too bad. But it lets me know that the eyebrow still needs to move over a little bit here. Let's move that up. Got a little bit of light hitting the white of the eye there. Otherwise, that part moves into shadow. Oops. Let's clean that eyeball up a little. Let's get a little bit lighter here in the bottom of the iris, get a nice light green going. That's much lighter than what's in the photo, but we'll see how that works first. Yeah, that just feels too light. So I'm going to come over it with a little bit darker green. It doesn't feel like it's looking at us right because I don't have the right amount of white in the around it. That's not too bad. And let me see if I can get that spot of white highlight in the eye. I'm going to grab a detail brush here, just put a small dot right on the tip of the brush, and then I can aim it. Maybe just a tad. That's actually not too bad, but I just want it just a little bit more. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. So what I'm going to do here a lot is just squint and see if the general colors and shapes are doing what they need to do. I'm going to try to avoid painting too much detail, so I'm getting the really big brush out. So I can just make these very broad changes. Got a really strong purple right here in the right underneath the eyebrow, and that slides into a red, almost an orange, that's right above the eyelid. And then that upper eyelid, that's part that's pointing up, is lighter. It's got some purple in it. And then right in the middle is where it's the lightest. And we need that because it helps describe that turn in space. Got a little messy there. Let's see if I can clean that up quickly. So I almost got pure black here. Just going to come in right under that eyelid because it's casting a shadow onto that eye. Got the pupil, and then I'm going to have to put that dot in again. A little bit bigger brush this time. It's not too bad. Okay. So even though the edges are rough, the eye pretty much works out what's going on there. Oops. Really want a black spot right next to that highlight. have to come in again with my lighter green right around it. I can go back and forth 30 times until I get it the way I want it. Okay, and one more adjustment. And then you'll see this a lot on the upper edge of the eyelid where it's facing up. Sometimes that just catches the light. And that's right in line. See that dot in the light part of the eye, that light, the light that's on the upper eyelid. That just all follows in a line. And then I can put that same highlight here and then on the cheek. And it lets you know the light source is coming right, we're right where the light source is essentially. And so any part of the face that's facing in that direction is going to catch that light. Going to go a little bit darker on that edge of the nostril. And then I can come with purple right there. And then pull some lighter pinks. Go a little bit lighter, purple and pink here. Okay, so now I'm starting to see those forms moving. Got a bit of green here. I can really exaggerate that color there. If it were a little bit more photorealistic, it would look weird, but the fact that I have a lot of play in the color gives me the room to do this. Let's get a little bit more light around that edge. Got some nice purples going here. Let's go a little bit lighter with that. Got some lights here in the cheek. That's going to help push up his cheekbone a little bit by getting that little bit lighter area. Okay, I want to give a little bit of shape now to this, to the chin. So this is where the light is hitting it, and also we see a reflective highlight there too. And then it should get darker as we go to the right here, and it eventually goes into shadow. Need a little bit of transition color there, and a little bit lighter here. Okay, that's not too bad. You can do a little bit of cleanup, and then we can go even darker in the shadow there. Oops, went too light there. I wanted something like a dark orange, maybe a touch of red in it. Right along that crease, and then it slowly lightens up. Let's try that again. That's a little bit better. And let's get that lashes going here. And we got a little bit of shadow from the eyelid casting on the other eyelid. Okay, and we have the shadow underneath the ear. Going to make that a black with a little bit of red in it. And then we got a nice warm pink and red going here. Let's go a little bit cooler. Okay, and I said that far cheek is going darker, so let's just push it that direction. Maybe that's a little too far, but we need to start somewhere. Okay, that's not too bad. Got a little mystery going there because I didn't really paint everything in. little stronger shadow on the edge of the cheek there. And his lower lip is a little bit bigger and a bit puffier than what I put in there. I think that's a little bit better. That really strong shadow underneath. And just a little bit of highlight here, and I probably don't have to do too much more. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Okay, lighten this up a little bit right here. Okay, and I have to move the edge of that nose over just a little bit. Okay. Even a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, that's a bit too far, but I can thin that out a little. Okay, good. Okay, that's going pretty well so far. Now the shadows in the ear are pretty, almost like pure red. There's a few here that are more neutral. And there's a ear is just a little pointier than what I have it. Get some of these highlights in there too. Okay, that's starting to feel a little fleshier. And then let's get that dark shadow on the underside. He has a little more skull than what I gave him. Just going to indicate where some of these highlights are in the hair so I can get a little more sense of volume. Getting that really dark shadow that's underneath his chin. pretty dark shadow in the crease here of his shirt. And this gradates out the shadow. And let's throw a few of those little accent edges in this side. This is the underneath of his collarbone, and then the shadow between the shirt and his skin. We have a little bit of the seam. I think we need that to get a bit of the structure of the shirt on that side. Let's push that eyelid up just a little bit here. And again, we have a little bit of accent of the underside of the eyelid there. And it turns kind of reddish around that tear duct. That's out a little bit too far, but it's the right idea. And then I got to pull this in a little tighter right here. A little too tight, but that's okay. And then I need to know where the top of that eyelid is right there. A little bit of accent there. That's looking a lot better. And there's a nice bluish color right here. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit. That is a little bit too light. Let's get a little bit more phthalo blue. Okay. So here I need to make a decision. How close do I need it to be to the photo in terms of likeness? And how much do I want it to just be more playful and not worry about the likeness part of it? And I think the way it's come out so far, I really like the overall feel of it. So I don't think I want to change it that much. I'm going to get a little bit of these light yellows and greens that are hitting the cheek right here. A little bit of orange too. This gets a little bit lighter as it gets to the edge of that hair. Let's pull that shadow up just a little bit more. Okay. Um, I want to clean up the hair, some of the hair shapes. I like how loose this feels right here. So I want to leave a lot of that. I want to make his eyebrows a little bit bushier, um, the way he has them. I can soften up that edge and get a little bit of red and oranges in there. I think that's better. And then this edge comes down a little bit there. So at this point, I really just need to stop and evaluate and decide what does the painting need. So like I like how light this is against the cheek. So I'm going to push that a little bit lighter. It's got a lot of blues in it. That's really all it needed. And then I want more red in that shadow. And then clean up the hair shape a little bit there. Okay, so I said I wanted to clean up the hair. So I do see that he has this highlight that runs right across here. And then I need to come much darker towards the ends. I really want to describe the direction of the hair there. And he has a bit more forehead here than what I gave him. Another highlight there. Okay, and I just need to solidify some areas of his hair here where the paint got a little bit too thin. And I'd like to clean up the background here where the hair got a little bit too high. Okay, and I am going to continue maybe with a little bit bigger brush now to get some of the larger hair shapes in quickly. Yeah, so there's really some really nice abstract shapes going on now in the hair. I can add little bits of light that are coming in there. don't want to get too either too crazy or get too far down into the weeds here. Just really keep it simplified shapes. Okay, I think I'm going to put down that big brush for now so that I get a little more control here. Okay, just work those eyelashes back and forth a little until I got them right. Okay, and I like everything so far except a little bit missing on the shape of the ear here. So I'm going to work on that a little. So we're about an hour and a half in, and I'm pretty close to being finished. I really want to keep this very sketchy. Can get it, go very blue right here if I want, but darker. That's nice. And I want to pull the jaw over just a little bit. edge right there as the form turns. And I just want to make sure I have enough, light enough on the inside of the iris. Okay, and I'm missing this nice light on the underside of the nostril. And I can restate the shadow here. And I can put a different color for the shadow on the underside. Kind of mess that up a little bit, but I can clean it up. And I do want a little bit of blue right here. Okay, what if I leave it where it is? Does it need anything more? Maybe a couple spots. Just need to clean up this edge a little. Okay, let's see where we are. Yeah, let's just get another hit of black underneath his chin. Up. And let's move the corner of his jaw up just a little bit. Okay, let's fix a little bit of the shape back here. Okay, and I think just re-hit some of these highlights. Okay, I'm just going to call it done. Almost. Done. See if I can sign it somehow in this. I like to scratch out my signature from the paint that's there. And that's too light. I can go right in here. Well, that's not very readable. I may try that again. I may have to actually do a painted signature, which I don't do very often. That's a little bit thick. Okay, really can't read that, but that's okay. All right, that's done. Thank you so much for watching, and